What's going on, everybody? Brad and Greta Zude, Parenting with the Zudes podcast. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the feral child. Feral children. Do you have a wild animal child? And if you do, why is it? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it your fault? Or is it just the way God made your child? So that's what we're going to talk about on this episode. Maybe you'll get off the hook if you hang around. I don't know. We're going to see. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. And a 5-star review would mean the world to us. But if you are, you can head on over to YouTube, where many others are watching this. And if that's where you are, welcome. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. And if this is your first time watching us, we're Brad and Greta Zude. We're #1 best-selling parenting authors, parents of 8 feral children of our own.
I don't think we can put the label on this.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to talk about wild child. So how did this come up? Like, this wasn't even like a thing in my life.
I don't know. You know how Facebook starts like targeting you for things?
They know about us.
Yeah. Anyhow, I was just scrolling through and several posts and several like suggested articles and things like that were,
Popping
in
up
the mix there about the feral child. And they were written from mothers' perspectives on, I have this feral child. And a feral child, what does that mean? Like, wild child, a child that you can't control, a child who's, just bouncing off the walls.
Right.
We're not talking weird
not
stuff
like going out and killing small animals and trying to eat them in the backyard.
No. We're not talking about actual children that act like animals or anything like that. But just this was just in reference to
Yeah, not like creature animals.
Right. Yeah.
Like raised by wolves. Were you raised by wolves?
Yeah, no. Sometimes it seems like it, right?
Seems like
but,
it sometimes.
No, all these articles started popping up about those children that are just kind of wild and crazy and you just can't control them. And I just have this feral child. And it just started to make me think, I've always thought this for years and years. But I'm like, wow, this is really out there. Like, people are really just submitting to this fact that I have a feral child that I just can't control, and that's just the way it is. And so I thought, hey, it'd be good to talk about that.
It seems, maybe in a small percentage of times it's like actually real, but it seems, I don't know, kind of excusey.
I think it's very excusey. That's my opinion.
I don't want to drive the opinion bus and roll everyone over, but it's like it's kind of like when you have a baby. It's like, oh, my baby's colicky, and it's kind of like the actual percentage of like true colic where like everything is normal, but then like your baby really actually has is like minutia.
Right.
It's like less than minutia.
So I think where this stems from is that right now in the parenting world, the philosophies of parenting, it's very much hands off, like let your child be a child, and it's
just self-discovery. Yeah, there's like words for it. I'm trying to think of the words, like
very, very child-led. You never say no. You don't want to offend your child. You don't want to squash them. You don't want to squash their spirit. And really,
the four parenting styles are authoritarian. They're just like super strict. Authoritative, where they're still really involved and love you, but it's a little more warm. And then passive is more like, or permissive. Excuse me. Permissive is more like, yeah, you're still interacting, but yeah, go ahead, whatever. And then passive is kind of like the
hands off.
Like, hey, food's in the cupboard. Like, I'll be, like, whatever. Don't care where you are.
Okay.
Go roam the neighborhood, whatever.
Well, see, and I think this stems from I want what's best for my child. And that's letting them discover who they are and, never telling them no and never. And then and it starts from when they're infants. There's this theory that the baby they will tell you when they're hungry. They'll tell you when they're tired. They'll, and they
Sure.
control everything. And then
Sure.
when you start there, you just keep on going, and the child ends up being in control. And then you end up in a situation where your 3, 4-year-old, 5-year-old is out of control, and they're bigger and stronger than they were when they were 1 or 2, and
Sure.
a parent says, I don't know what to do with this. So
Yeah.
and then you just have to resolve yourself to, well, I guess I have a feral child and there's nothing to do, but someday I hope they figure it out.
Parenting is like this weird, crazy thing that like doesn't require a license or education or skills, or like anyone can do it, right? And that's how God designed it. However, good parenting, and it just doesn't happen. Like you hear people like on Instagram or on social media where like, oh, he just did it. He just went to sleep on his own and he just obeys and he's just kind of a good kid and going like that. That's like the minutia of parenting. Like it's hard and it takes specific training and work.
Right. And I don't really agree with that either. Like, oh, just, some kids are just, they're just good. But that's a whole nother topic.
That's
for
a
another
whole other
day.
topic.
Yeah.
So when you have a wild child, it just means that some children require more work than others. Like,
Yeah, there
there are
children-
dispositions.
There are lots of dispositions. I would say because of your crazy like Energizer bunny genes, that some of our kids are
That's why you married me, honey.
higher energy than other ones of our children. Like some of our kids are real laid back and don't require a whole lot of.
Yeah.
They just don't like have excessive energy, and then there are other ones of our children that are like. Bzzz. Actually, one of them, when she was in the womb, I always said she's got ants in her pants, even in the womb. Like,
and it's still true today, right?
It is true today, and so I think that is true that some kids are just born with higher energy.
Well, and this is interesting because families with multiple children, I think what happens is that parents take an approach. Like a blanket one approach that's typically based on the parent's personality, not necessarily what's like even best for the situation. It's just like if mom is like type A, then she just has this like blanket approach towards the children. And for some children, it works well and they jive with that. Everyone's on like a wavelength, and it's like if this is mom's wavelength, some kids' wavelengths are kind of the same as mom, and other kids are like, completely opposite or contradictory or perpendicular to mom, and it creates more of this rub. And what we have to do is especially for us with 8 kids, Greta and I have to be very intentional about taking a unique approach to our children, because we can categorize them sometimes generally like we just did, like, oh, well, some are high energy and some are chill and some are whatever. But still, even in the individuals, like if we're going to be great parents to them, we have to know on an individual basis what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what crushes their spirit, what just enlightens them.
Yeah, they're all individuals, and we have to think of them as individuals. And the neat thing about having so many kids is that we have so many personalities, but that also makes it very challenging. So it's not that our standard changes for each child. The standard's the same, and I think that's like we get our standard from Scripture, and we have a biblical standard. So for our children, obedience is the standard, and we are expecting that they're all going to disobey in their own way, but we're going to train them to that standard of obedience, and it's going to look differently for each child. The training is going to look different for each child.
So in the morning time, for example, so our kids are 12 and under, And for most of our kids, when we get up in the morning, we clean our room, we get everything off the floor, we make our bed, we fold our blankets, we do this. And then, we do, Greta and I call room checks. We go up and we inspect. Because if you're not expecting or inspecting what you're expecting, what you expect, you're kind of missing it a little bit. So I'd encourage you to do that. But some kids do that really well, and some kids repeatedly, it's a struggle every single day. And we keep the standard of, hey, this is the standard for our room. It's clean, and it's a privilege to have a nice room with nice things and everything, and we're going to take care of it. But it can be bashing your head into the wall some mornings after mornings with some children. After shower, wet towels just seem to routinely appear for some of our children who are not unaware of the standard. And others, a wet towel after shower, not really a problem.
Right. So let's get back to our topic of the feral child.
Does
the feral child exist?
Nature versus nurture. Is this just the way God made my child? So how do we define the feral child? What definition?
I would say a wild child, one that you really can't control. And so I think it's just so funny to me because you see it at each stage. You see it you see it described as the feral child for a 3, 4, 5-year-old or so, and you see it as, the toddler who can't control themselves, and you see it as the baby who will never sleep. You just can't control them. You can't teach them anything. But the truth is that you can teach your child, and you must. Mm-hmm. Like this is our duty to teach our children.
This is what parenting is.
This is what parenting is. God gave us children because, He gave them to us to steward, and we're to do that. We're to be faithful in all of our parenting.
So I think the wild child exists. However, I only give merit to the wild child. You show me a true wild child, and I'll show you a parent that's truly being super intentional about parenting and still can't get it done. Right? That's the place where like a true wild child exists. I don't think a wild child exists where you see a parent really trying and really going after it and really being intentional, because that truly eliminates 98% of behavior issues, right? When you see an intentional parent. But I think that there are parents, or children, I should say, who really are, strong children that even with intentional, intense parenting, there's still some troubles, some issues, some behavioral issues. But there is with
every child. I mean, there is going to be an amount of whatever with any child. And I think even with those high energy kids, you are going to see a difference if you intentionally parent or if you parent hands off. Or if you don't parent.
Well, so we work with, and comment below, by the way, what you think, if your kids are feral children, if you think there exists such a thing as a feral child. But it's kind of like, so so we have a program, a toddler behavior program. We've got a baby sleep program and a parenting program. We've got, you should check them out, links in description if your baby's not sleeping or you need our help with toddler behavior. We work with thousands of families. But it's kind of like baby sleep. It's like, are there babies out there that just don't sleep, even if they're on the perfect routine and they don't have colicky and they're not allergic and they're getting fed plenty and all that kind of stuff? There are just bad sleepers out there. However, they're like very few and very far between. I mean, there's hardly, inside of our Sleep Accelerator courses, we call it, we've worked with autistic children, Down syndrome children, premature babies, like whatever the deal is, and 99.999 times out of 100, it works. Mm-hmm. So with behavior, if you're thinking, I would, if I would assess, mom and dad, your approach, the time that you spent on parenting, how much that you've looked into this, how much you've gotten on the same page with your spouse, and mirror that up against how wild you think your child is. And chances are parents are more the problem than the child.
I would agree.
Because children typically adapt to their surroundings. They typically adapt to the instruction.
And they do what works.
They do
what works.
Sure.
Like, if there is no consequence for bouncing off the walls and climbing shelves,
why wouldn't
and
you?
Like if there's no consequence for that,
Like,
why wouldn't I?
like,
hey, this is fun.
Who doesn't go to Lowe's or Home Depot and be like, man, it'd be really cool to climb to the top of that shelf, like 20 feet in there. Like I as a 30-something-year-old adult, I can hardly go to Lowe's and be like, wow, this would be a sweet place to
Or
play
those
like
big carts
tag.
the lumber carts.
Yeah.
Like to roll around on
I mean,
those.
that'd be
fun.
if I could have access to Lowe's for a day, like Nerf guns, laser tag, paintball, be a riot.
Sure. Yeah. So
But there's a consequence. They're going to throw me out of the store if I do that.
right. And I think in a lot of those homes with feral children, there aren't the consequences. There isn't the follow through. Mostly. And I'm not saying that we can parent unto having perfect children. Like it's not possible.
No, it really boils down to mostly, in my opinion, is bad consequences. So look, because most parents who come to us, they're like, no, you don't understand. We've tried everything. He just won't. We even spank our kids and they just won't. You know, I chatted with a lady today, in one of our groups, and she was like, oh, you don't understand. Our 3-year-old keeps coming into our room and this and that. And she's like, we've even tried spanking and it doesn't work. And most parents don't understand that your consequences need to be deterrence. Okay? And a lot of parents want to tell me all about their consequences and all about all the things that they've tried. And that's fine. But then you got to step your game up. You know, the parenting is, okay, well, this didn't work, so let's find the thing that does, right? And like for our children, we've talked about it lots. Like for some of our kids, like losing screen time is, the planet is going to implode, right? Like there's like life is over if I don't get to be on the iPad, right? Other kids, like if they don't get a cookie before bedtime or something like that, that's what is, game over for them. And consequences need to be deterrence for the behavior. So if you feel like you have a wild child, first of all, reach out. We'd love to work with you in the description, because like I get it, like you're tired and you have mom brain and you're fatigued and like you're just like, oh, someone just tell me what to do. Like I've got this wild child and yeah, okay, Brad and Greta, I'm guilty. Okay, I haven't tried very hard. I haven't been intentional like you told us. I haven't gone on date night with my husband and brought pens and paper and did a working date night like you always preach. Okay, I just want you to tell me what to do. Fix my problem. Okay, well, we have links in the description for like that doesn't cost a lot to work with us, and you can be one of the thousands of families that do, and will dramatically change your life quick if you feel stuck.
All right.
Feral child. So anyways, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. It really would mean the world to us. And if you're on the podcast, hit the subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review. That also would be fantastic. And we'll put some links to some other relevant videos right here that you're going to like. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.